Today's guest is Bianca Kahlenberg. She's a freelance project manager, but more interestingly, she's also the founder and the owner of Starship Spirits, which I have here with me. And Bianca and I met when we both worked at the Millennium Challenge Corporation here in Washington, D.C. And now she's on a more interesting journey. So thanks for joining me today, Bianca.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Excited for the conversation.
So for people who haven't met you, talk a bit about where you're from, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Florida. Grew up in Florida, went to college in Florida, and then after graduation, drove the day after up to DC. I did an internship there when I was in college and just loved the city. Stayed there for about 8 years and made my way actually to Amsterdam, which is a story in itself. And now, after spending about 4.5 years there, I'm in Stockholm, Sweden. And Amsterdam is where I started Starship Spirits as well, the company that I own today.
So what brought you into the spirits world?
Yeah, so of course, as you said, we met at MCC where I was doing product ownership, and then after that did some product management work in Amsterdam. So very not related at all, no overlap whatsoever to the alcohol industry. But when I moved to Amsterdam, like any new person does to a city, I was just going out to bars and restaurants and kind of exploring. And when I would go out in America, I would just order a simple vodka soda and they'd give it to you in a nice glass with a nice lemon wedge and whatever else. And yeah, when I would order it in Amsterdam or really anywhere in Europe, I would be looked at very strangely, like, what do you want? And I would have to explain, and then they give you a little shot of vodka in a glass with a side of Spabro, as they call it in Dutch, just sparkling water, and like maybe a lemon if you're lucky. And to me, it's just like clean, easy to drink, no sugar in it, and doesn't give you a bad hangover the next day. So yeah, I just kind of started to think like, wow, all they have is gin and tonic and Aperol spritz and all these like very sugary stuff. And I'd always wanted to start my own business, to be honest. I actually started, as you know, at MCC as an independent contractor. So I kind of always had that in me. But yeah, I was just kind of journaling one day about it and thinking like, okay, what kind of business could I do? And originally started as a pop-up cocktail bar, actually. It was kind of the idea I had. So I was going out to bars and restaurants and explaining this concept of all healthy, no added sugar cocktails, and started just kind of bartending on my own and doing guest shifts at bars and organizing these events. So yeah, I did that whilst still having a full-time job for about a year and a half. And in that process, I got bored with just making people like plain vodka sodas with sometimes like natural fresh juices and things. I was like, this is boring. What else can I do? And yeah, one night I was experimenting in my kitchen, and I just took a bunch of ginger and threw it into some vodka and just started infusing vodka at home and using that in my events. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there. COVID hit, honestly. I'm probably one business that COVID was good for in a weird way. Of course, all my events got shut down, but I had people who were coming to my events and knew the vodka, knew what I was doing, and they were messaging me like, can I actually order a bottle of the ginger vodka you make? Like, will you deliver it to me? So I spent like 6 months of COVID just biking around Amsterdam as we do, delivering people vodka, little black market vodka business, I guess you could say. But yeah, it just kind of dawned on me like, wow, I actually probably have something here. I have a product, and got to the point that I could not keep up with making it myself. And also really wanted to like productize it and make it correctly. So yeah, I quit my full-time job and decided to like go 100% in. And yeah, hence was born Starship Spirits about like 6 or 8 months later.
So, if I remember correctly, besides the ginger, which I have here, what's the other flavor? I can't recall.
I also make a raspberry hibiscus, which unfortunately I wasn't able to send you because I'm completely sold out of it at the moment, but in the process of making more.
So now, did the choice of the flavors, was that driven by the reduced sugar concept?
A little bit. So like when I would make them at home, I wouldn't add any sugar whatsoever. So I would only use real ingredients, and that's still what I do today. So both the ginger lime and the raspberry hibiscus were 2 that I was making at home, and I was making lots of others like jalapeno. I was making an elderflower, vanilla, all these cool things, but those tended to be my most popular. Mm-hmm. And also raspberry is just a really popular ingredient in Europe. So like if raspberries on a cocktail menu, people tend to order that drink for some reason. But yes, to your point, also like both of them have so much flavor without having added sugar. So I felt like they were the ones that could kind of educate consumers as well about that concept.
So when you moved from a homegrown to production, what's that look like? I mean, how did you find even somebody to produce it for you?
Yeah. So I just started reaching out to different distilleries. So there's actually a fair number of like small distilleries in the Netherlands. And a friend of mine who actually does like brand development knew somebody at a distillery based in Amsterdam, and she connected me with them. So I told them about my concept, and they actually did what's called private labeling. So they do all the bottling, and they help with the recipe development, and yeah, they kind of did all of that. And I brought in what I was making at home and literally matched it, which was a really cool process. The raspberries made with a very specific tea blend actually that I was using at home, and they were very adamant, well, not very adamant, but they were very hesitant, I should say, to use the tea, but there was like no other way to replicate it. So yeah, we ended up doing it that way. And it was just really cool. I was even looking at pictures the other night of like the old bottles I used to make and thinking like, wow, this looks exactly like what's in a real bottle today. So it's kind of cool that they took something that was homegrown and like productized it for real.
So, I mean, does that then drive for opportunity for more flavor now that you have production capability? I mean, what's a growth model for that sort of business look like?
Yeah. So a lot of it, of course, is about building the brand with anything. So that's kind of where I'm at now is like, I've put a lot of investment into the product itself and, you know, the production of it, the recipe development, all of that has like its own startup costs. So
Right.
now that I've done that, I think I have the opportunity now I don't think I want to go into other flavors quite yet. I just want to keep producing what I've been making and put more time and effort into the marketing side of things. So I'm still at growth of growing the volume, and then maybe in the future would grow the flavor options, of course, or even thought about doing different types of spirits as well. But yeah, it's really just a numbers game like anything.
Right.
Yeah, like I need to increase my volume so that I can decrease my costs and decrease my cost to consumers or to bars as well. So it's been a lot of learning for sure. There's
Yeah.
a
So
lot of things that goes into it.
does that have a lot of opportunity growth within Europe itself, outside of the Netherlands?
Yeah, so I've been also focusing on that. So of course, originally I was only selling in the Netherlands, and I'm in probably like the majority of prominent bars in Amsterdam. Amsterdam's not that big though. I think people think in their brain that this like really big
It's not.
city, but it's not. But I'm in a good number of bars there and other parts of the Netherlands and in some bottle shops. I have online retail in the Netherlands and then just expanded online in Denmark.
Oh,
And then moving to Sweden, of course, I got connected actually with a distribution company here through a friend of mine who's a brand rep for a gin brand. So just been started doing some business here in Sweden, sold to my first bar the other week, and yeah, working to get into the bottle business here as well to consumers. It's an interesting topic though in Sweden. It's owned by like a monopoly, so you can only buy alcohol at one store
oh, wow.
in the entire country. Yeah. So I have to get
Interesting.
into that one store.
And they're like government sanctioned, I guess.
Yeah, it's government owned. Yeah, it's like private owned. Or
Wow.
yeah.
Interesting. So as you've gone through this process, what about this has kind of made you a better person, right? I mean, you have this whole new business concept and you grow it from the ground up, and then you've got all these connections. So what about this? I mean, it's an opportunity, right, for personal growth. How's that reflected within you?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely had its challenging moments. Like I'm not gonna lie, I've had my moments of like I'm just gonna stop, like because it gets very frustrating. I'm a one woman show still. I don't have anyone working for me other than I hire people to help with like events and things. So I think those challenging moments have really helped with my personal growth of just still persevering and continuing. And because I really do believe in the product and I get really good feedback on it and people love the brand and kind of decisions that I was pretty strict on. Like, for instance, even the bottle itself, I was like, I really want this bottle. And I had a lot of people tell me like, no, it's expensive. It's kind of heavier, as you probably can feel, but people love it. Like, I think sometimes people just buy it because of the bottle. So it's really helped me kind of believe in myself. And I mean, it's very easy, I think, nowadays in the workplace and even as a woman in technology to like kind of question yourself. And I still do project management and IT work on the side. And I see that I just come across much more confident in that work now too, because I just, yeah, I've kind of learned like, okay, I know what I'm doing a bit, like, and I guess that my confidence has grown. And also my appreciation for people and like the world. I think that's also my move to Europe, but Amsterdam was such a community to me, like the amount of people that helped me, just saying like, I really like your product, but I like you. Like, I'm just like you as a person, so I'm going to help you out. I know these 3 bars you should go visit, and like I know so and so, they'll be interested. Like that just goes on and on and on. So I'm very appreciative for that. Yeah, it's definitely made me a better person. I think it's like the best decision I've ever made, to be honest.
That's really interesting, because we talk a lot about networking within the IT community, but it sounds like networking has really paid off within the alcohol business for you.
It's the only way I am where I am. I mean, it's the only reason I met a company to help me do it. It's the only way that I got into several of the bars that I'm in. Like, and that's kind of also an interesting point that I'm at now in the business, because I do need to hire people to help me. But there's this little part of me in my brain, my little ego that's like, but it's all in my network, and it's all about like, also people see me right now as the brand, which is an opportunity for growth, of course, because they need to see the brand as the brand. But my network, of course, has really, really helped a lot. Yeah.
So then what's next? I mean, you kind of led into it a little bit there, right? The growth step that you're going to need to take is probably a big part of it. But what else might be next for you as you go into this?
Yeah, so a lot of things, of course, like hiring people on, but and making more product. But with that kind of comes the need for capital investment. So I've only been self-funded at this point, but I'm looking into trying to get investment right now to really try to grow it, because it's just kind of at this stage of like, it can only get so far with what I can put into it.
Right.
Of course. And then, yeah, I want to, of course, continue Europe, but I also think the product would do really well in the United States. So the last time I was in the US, I met with some some distilleries there as well to see about costing, because it's kind of totally different in America for the cost of things. But yeah, I probably personally will move back to the United States within the next like year or two. So want to bring the product there as well. But yeah, we'll see.
Would you do that that actually brings up an interesting question. Would that be like a produced in the United States version versus the produced in the Netherlands version?
Well, it's the same exact recipe. So like I, of course, own the recipe and all of that, but it's kind of a financial decision, because importing it from Europe into the United States is very expensive.
Right.
So I think I'll always say it was born in Amsterdam, because it was. But yeah, it's just more of a cost thing, to be honest.
Sure.
So I'll want to, of course, keep the branding the same, the bottle the same, the recipe the same as much as possible. But yeah, it'll be produced in the United States.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we'll see. We hope it'll be produced in the United States.
Well, Bianca, this has been fascinating. I mean, we've known each other for a long time, but not in this space. So I've had a great time getting to hear about your voyage and getting into the spirits industry. And I can't wait till you're in the United States, so I can buy it direct rather than buy it, through smuggled in the suitcase version. So
yes, yeah. No, I really appreciate the support, and yeah, it'll be great to get you the other flavor as well. But see, it's a good example of my network helping support the business. So yeah.
Whatever we can do. So, all right. Thank you so much and take care.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.